Airplane pilots of Reddit, what was your biggest we're all fucked up moment that you survived and your passengers didn't notice? Uncoordinated turn and all the fuel went to one side of the plane. Choked both engines. Sputtered and cut out. 3,000 feet high, so brought back the coordination and pointed down a bit. The started back up. Yikes. Edit, well this got some attention. Some clarifying points. Number 1, not an airline pilot. I'm an aerial photo pilot. Had one passenger, the camera operator, and he didn't notice, but to be fair he was pretty into his podcast. Number 2, it was intentional to be uncoordinated. We use skidding turns to turn 180 degrees faster so we can get one line and collect more pictures. Number 3, it was a light twin, we were lowish on fuel and that's what enabled the airplane to be starved of fuel. Under normal circumstances this would not have happened. Okay. Clear skies. Adios. Yikes. A nearly perfect setup for a spin at a low altitude. For those that don't know how much altitude you can lose in a spin and recovery. I've heard spinning is a good trick. Edit, this blew up. Obligatory thanks for the gold stranger. Now this is pod racing. I've got a bad feeling about this. Yippee. We're still flying half a ship airplane. USA in big doo-doo this time. Commercial pilot here, not the most exciting story but because there aren't any good ones yet I'll reply. I was flying myself and 3 passengers over the Appalachian Mountain on a clear day. We hit some mild turbulence and the door opened to the cabin. The passengers all started panicking so I basically said chill out guys, this happens all the time, and tried closing the door. I couldn't get it shut while also flying the plane so I simply landed at a nearby airfield and closed it on the ground. After the trip was over I told the passengers that was the first time that had ever happened to me and I was slightly panicked as well. Edit, I can answer any other questions while I'm here since many of you have DM'd some. That's quite handy if you need to reverse after taking a wrong turning during the flight or something. It's way easier to put the plane in reverse. This way, the engine absorbs the fuel you've been consuming while going the wrong way, and you don't run the risk of running dry mid-flight. Also you're running the odometer backwards, meaning the plane is actually getting newer and therefore more valuable. I should try this on my friend's dad's Ferrari next time I skip school. Take a stand against him and kick it out of second-story garage window. Once, departing Burning Man in a private plane with a couple of passengers, my engine conked out. I didn't even follow the engine out checklist. I glanced at the fuel pressure gauge, didn't like what I saw, hit the switch for the auxiliary fuel pump, and it came back to life. The whole incident was over so fast the passengers never even noticed. I wouldn't call it a we're all ducked moment, though. Worst case scenario, I would have had to set it back down on the playa, which is pretty flat terrain as far as the eye can see. Redundancy. High five. 2 is 1, 1 is none. Same in scuba. 2 lights, gauges and computers all the way. I don't mind one of everything on warm shallow dives, but if I'm going anywhere that I even begin to question if an emergency ascent is completely safe, I'll bring 2. Not completely on topic, but I was an aircraft mechanic for the Navy back in the day on A4 Skyhawks. Student pilot notices his canopy light is on, indicating his canopy isn't all the way closed and locked. He decided it might help if he cracked the canopy open just a little bit and close it again. I remember seeing it land as a convertible. We sent a couple of guys out in a pickup truck where they found the missing canopy in a farmer's field. The submarine door doesn't seem closed all the way. Jim, do you mind opening it and slamming it shut so we know it's closed? The submarine door doesn't seem closed all the way, you jest, but I just finished reading The Silent Service in World War II, which is a book with a series of short anecdotes from USN submariners about their experiences during the war. An incorrectly shut hatch causing major problems for a diving submarine happened in more than one story in the book. Not a pilot but a passenger was on a 16-seater turboprop when suddenly there's a loud bang, all the lights go out, and we drop. We're all looking around like what's going on, is this how we die? After a few minutes the lights come back on and the pilot comes in the PA, says sorry about that folks but we were just struck by lightning. No need to worry, everything seems to be working. Except for the radar. It's fried. I may have worried a little. Believe it or not, that actually happens pretty regularly. It's usually not a big deal, planes are designed with that in mind. 56% of pilots admit falling asleep during flight, whilst 29% admit they woke up to their co-pilot asleep too. I'm willing to bet those are just the pilots who were honest about it, and the number is much higher. Was learning to fly when I worked for the Gov. So on my first flight with me taking off, we've been climbing for about 5 minutes and we're going through some gentle turns when instructor says, "We're going to head back, I don't feel well." He takes over the stick and he looks ashen. He then starts to breath erratically and says I need to help him control the plane. He radios tower and up till now I'm thinking it's a prank. Mayday mayday. He talks me through the whole thing. I'm trying to talk to the tower, repeat info, read gwidges, remember lessons, listen to him and hope he don't pass out. I was shitting myself. Takeoff is one thing, but landing? We land like a kangaroo with a rocket up its ass. I'm surprised the wheels didn't fold. Must have been 4 big bounces, but it's a big runway. Scrub speed, finally get the plane to stop and instructor passes out. He had an heart attack. He survived but only for a few months before I heard he passed away in his sleep. But he got us down. I never continued the lessons. I'm a CFI at this point and I'm flying with a student. We see a spider in the cockpit. I'm okay with spiders but I don't want it distracting the student, so I mash it. Student missed the spider but saw my movement and asked what it was. I responded it was a spider. I killed it as I'm glancing into the backseat area. I managed to casually add, "Why, are you scared of spiders?" without the student noticing the break in the sentence. Turns out the student is scared of spiders. For the rest of that flight I squished spiders behind my student's back as they came forward from the nest I had just spotted in the back of the plane. He never knew. Nest of spiders in a plane. Okay, I can handle one spider in a moving car or plane, but a nest? I don't know whether it'd throw up or nope out of there, so hard it'd die. That's what parachutes are for. The parachutes have spiders too. The spiders have parachutes too. Not a pilot, but my buddy has a private license, and we fly together often just for his hours. I buy lunch, he gets hours, it's fun. I live in the PNW and wanted to fly over Crater Lake one winter. Ceiling 8,000 feet, Crater Lake 6,000 feet. He doesn't have his instrumental yet, so we can't break ceiling. We fly over, have an easy time, take great pics, etc. We get back to the airport, go to the bar, and he proceeded to tell me that was the most frightened he's ever been piloting. Why? The single-engine Cessna we were in could glide 2 to 3 miles in an emergency. Crater Lake is 8+ miles in diameter. In the middle, we'd be ducked. I asked him what he would do. He said, "I'd nosedive into the water. You wanna swim in that shit and drown, or die quick and mostly painless?" FML edit, sorry guys, freezing temps, ice and snow everywhere. Pics on my profile. I don't like making open water crossings outside of gliding distance in the C-172 I fly. Glide ratio is 9:1, which roughly translates to 1.5 nanometers 1,000 feet in altitude. If I'm crossing a 6 nanometers lake, I'll want to be at 2,000 feet at least. It's a legal requirement, here in Canada at least, that you have certain equipment on board if you're going out of gliding distance from land. In the US 50 nanometers needs life jackets or other flotation device. 100 nm 30 minutes requires a whole bunch of stuff. 14 CFR 91.509, survival equipment for overwater operations. My friend's girlfriend is a flight attendant and they had one trip where they ran out of alcohol. They were worried people would get mad or freak out because some people heavily rely on alcohol to help with the nerves of flying, but none of the passengers noticed because after they served the last drink nobody ordered anything else. It's not a crazy life or death scenario, but I thought it was an amusing anecdote about the passengers not realizing something. Can I have a whiskey Coke? Is Pepsi okay? Sure, enjoy your Pepsi. Is Pepsi okay? Another source of panic and chaos. There's never been a moment like this for me because you're always trying something else to save the plane. There's never been a real situation where I had to save a plane from imminent disaster. There's decisions I've had to make that if I chose wrong we can be in a bad spot, but never anything like we're all going to die. Once when landing a RJ on a short runway out in the northeast, I was carrying a little bit too much speed and caught a gust at the wrong moment in the landing flare. The plane lifted maybe 10 higher and I slowly lowered the nose. I realized at this moment that where the plane will touch down will not give me a whole lot of opportunity to stop before the end of the runway. As a matter of fact, it's probably not going to stop until we get into the trees at the end. I pushed the power up and we did a go around maybe 20 to 30 feet off the ground. The controllers vectored us around and we landed safely on try number 2. In the simulator we do all the oh shit stuff, and even when a training event goes sideways, we still try to fly the thing until it hits something solid. I can't imagine ever giving up on the plane in flight. There's thousands of decisions made every day on flights by pilots that prevent a difficult situation from becoming dangerous. Flying these days is very cautious and conservative. Safety is always first and nothing is allowed to ever slide.